GM everyone. It's me, Okikiola, once again. I'm your host. Welcome to today's edition of Project Spotlights. Thank you all, everyone. And with me, I've got Okhai. Okhai is cooking something. He says he's a chef of Realmofra. That's how he defines himself, a chef at Realmofra, and uh, he's building something. I personally like the name. I've always had this fascination with mythology, Egyptian and Greek majorly, and then my personal Yoruba also. So it's great having someone giving their project a name that's something I'm fascinated with. So I'd let him do the introduction as usual. I'd let him introduce himself. Over to you, Okai.
All right, thanks, Okiki. Yeah, my name is Okhai. I'm working on chain games. So I've been in the Starknet ecosystem for probably over a year now. Yeah. Started through the base camp. Started a project called Mancala. Did an internship with Netherminds, and yeah, just kind of like fell into on-chain gaming after that, and kind of continued the rabbit hole. So I built my first on-chain game called Mancala. It's a board game, something I play a lot of while I was growing up, like Ayolokbo, and yeah, just try to kind of see what that would look like as an on-chain game, and yeah, just continue my journey, and a lot of pivots, or not a lot of pivots, but challenges that I had to overcome, and like right now I had to pivot to like a different game, but yeah, it's just been fun experience, like building and exploring the ecosystem.
Great. Okay, so what's you said you came in through a boot camp, and now you're working on Realm of Ra. Why gaming? What made you decide to go into gaming and say, okay, let's talk about Mancala, for example, for starters. What made you decide, okay, let me start out with Mancala? I think that was like the first thing that came to you. Let me start out with Mancala. Why gaming? People tend to like want to build certain other things. Why gaming for you?
I think I really like bleeding edge technology and like emerging fields, so like intersections of like different industry, and I see like the blockchain space on chain gaming is like a relatively new field. It's an emerging field. I think there's a lot of potential in it, and yeah, I was curious. I got into like a community where of like game players, developers, and all. It's called Realms World, and I met like really amazing individuals there. So it kind of like it's a community that I found that I loved, and I stuck with it, and I started making friends. I participated in a fellowship with the cartridge team. It's like a dojo fellowship, and yeah, so it stuck to me, and I loved it. The other reason why Mancala or Ayo, it's a game I played growing up, right? Like the vision I had when I started Realm of Ra was to bring African culture into this like new industry, because I feel like this is it's a new territory that we can have like a head start or like a good start. I kind of evaluated DeFi and on-chain gaming. I think DeFi is already getting like more mature. And to me, again, I like experimentation and like newer fields. So I was like, yeah, there's a lot of potential here. Yeah, it's a little bit risky, but I kind of like have fun doing it. So yeah, I'm doing it for the fun, and I see a lot of upside to it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I've always liked it when people say they build for Africa because, building for Africa can be quite something. I think we've got the population, but then there's always we have the obstacles that tend to come up from time to time. So I can understand. I think it's a great thing. So why Starknet? Okay, you said you came in through a boot camp and everything, but I feel you could have considered another chain when trying to build your project. Why Starknet? Why did you decide, okay, Starknet is the place to be?
Well, it's very funny because I started a master's in machine learning. I was also kind of into crypto at that point. I was so excited about like the intersection of blockchain and machine learning. And then I think crypto took over. Like I started working in Ethereum ecosystems and I loved it.
Okay.
But Ethereum has limitations. And like I
Okay.
always heard about ZK and I was like, this looked like moon math. I would eventually get to it. I just kind of like, stayed away for almost like 2 years. And then I found a project Gither. They were working on like machine learning and blockchain. So I was like, this is something interesting. So I started kind of like diving into it. And yeah, I started asking questions and I kind of like did a little bit, maybe PR, and it got merged. And I was like, oh, cool. And I found the base camp. The base camp is like a program by the Starknet Foundation to train people in Cairo.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I took the base camp, I liked the community and the technology, I think, would scale better. I think everybody agrees that like zero knowledge scaling solution is the end goal of blockchains. And I mean, at that time, Starknet just introduced Cairo 1. Um, I didn't experience the Cairo Zero, which people said was really difficult. So it was kind of like I came at like an interesting period. So yeah, the community was great. I think ZK scaling solution has a lot of potential in this space. And like just with all the technology around it, I stuck around. And yeah, I started building. I attended like an hackathon in Denver, met a lot more people from the Cairo or Starknet ecosystem. Um, and that kind of like solidified it. So I got a grant to keep building. So also kind of was a good incentive um, for me to keep building on Starknet. But all in all, I think the community is great. The technology is great. So it was a no-brainer.
Okay. Okay. So, great technology, great community, and then there's also the added perk of getting a grant. So, I guess it's something. It's
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So, but you said you're moving slightly out of Mancala now, trying to move into something that was like 3D gaming. Can you talk us through that?
I mean, maybe I will talk about Mancala first. So
Okay.
Mancala is a two-player strategy board game that I was building. And like I said, this is an imagined field. So the audience or the community around this space is still like it's still a niche community. So building
Okay.
a two-player game I found to be like really difficult because like you start the game, you have to wait for people like back and forth. And building Mancala also was like a niche thing too, right? It is yeah, I think it's originated from Africa. Yeah, it did originate from Africa. But like the audience globally, I think there's over, from my research, over 100,000 people plus playing Mancala all over the world. But it seems like there's an advice I saw from like a startup page that says don't, build so many new things at the same time. So like just introducing too many new technology at the same time. So, this on-chain gaming is niche. Like I'm trying to bring this niche game also into this space. I think it has a lot of potential. It's personal to me. It's very nice, but the audience did not seem to kind of be there at that time, and it felt like there's so many obstacles um, to overcome, and the market at that point was not validated for that particular game. So, excuse me. So I felt like even though it's a great game, I love it. Maybe it was not the right time to kind of like build it, but it was a great experience. Like learning because I would say it was my first on-chain game, right? So I learned a lot. Got more involved in the community, and like there's a lot of lessons I can like take from there and like move on to the other game. So that is kind of like one reason I pivoted. But we actually held a lot of events like in different schools who I built in Mancala. So we had feedback from the community. We had like a community event with Starknet Africa too, like Mancala Mondays, where we play Mancala, and we had a decent amount of engagement, but it was not scalable at that time. So I had to pivot from that. I don't know if that answered the first part of the question, and then I'll go to the second part.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so for the second part, like why am I building a 3D game, or why am I trying to build a 3D on-chain game? So I've seen like a bunch or a lot of on-chain games in my time as like an on-chain game builder. One of my favorite games, Loot Survivor. It's constrained with like, it's a turn-based strategy game. Like you play, it's a roguelike game. It's turn-based. So that's the constraint that is built with the blockchain. And I've seen like also games like Off the Grid. Like it's kind of like an hybrid. It feels like Call of Duty, but not really like Call of Duty. But they also slap like on-chain, some on-chain aspect to it. And I've seen a lot of like NFT Ponzi's that call themselves games, right? So I was like, what is the intersection with all these things? Like, I know that the NFT is not game. I love Loot Survivor, but it's turn-based. And the audience will be like limited if you can. And then Off the Grid is a good game, I think. But like it's the level of on-chain elements is not a lot there. And there's like a lot of potential that comes with on-chain aspect. So I was like, let me explore like that intersection. So I started building like a 3D game inspired by Loot Survivor. So like the adventurer, I'm actually using the adventurer from Loot Survivor, and like I'm adding progression there. So it's like for me, it's going to be like a value-added context. This is a game that is proven. I think they've generated over $1 million in revenue as of today. There's kind of like a lot of lessons that and like primitives they built that I can also extract and I can use to kind of like amplify this game. But like I think building a better user experience, or like a more modern user experience for like 3D will be more attractive to a different type of audience, and that's kind of like what I'm kind of like exploring because just got feedback from a bunch of people. I'm actually even taking a game development class right now at my university. Trying to push what can be, because again, like I said, I like emerging field, like, and I like experimenting with like blade mesh technology. I don't see a lot of people doing it yet, and I think there's a lot of potential from doing it. I did a research for like the audience of on-chain gaming. There's actually over 40 million active addresses that play on-chain game. But there's a question of if they're playing it because, of the extracting value, or they're playing it for fun. I think on-chain game can be fun. And this is what I'm kind of like, pushing and building towards. And I think 3D would give it a better user experience.
Okay. I like your mind. I like the fact that you saw that this is not the time for a project like Mancala now. Now it's something you enjoy playing, and we all know it's based off Ayolokmo, and we all know a lot of people. I would say Nigerians. I'd speak for Nigerians who enjoy playing Ayolokmo. I didn't know how to play it as a child. I got beaten away from where I was playing it once by my grandmother. So since then, I never touched it again until 2023. I met someone on a flight, and she visited and came with it.
That's funny because there's something I talked about at the conference about like this game. So imagine like I played Ayolokmo with my grandma, right? So imagine like you able to relive that experience and like share with your grandchildren like this, because again, everything you do on chain is immutable and it's provable. The moves that you made like with your grandma, with like your great grandma, your great grandchildren can still see that.
Can still see.
There's emotional value to that, because it's like I remember like my grandma laughing. I remember like the experience while playing it, and like that nostalgic effect can still be shown because we can replay all the moves that we made. And I also think like there are a lot of geniuses like in in like playing local games, because everybody knows, okay,
Yeah.
yes, Magnus Carlsen is one of the best chess players ever. I think there are geniuses
Yeah.
that have played this game that we cannot see. But if like imagine that
Yes.
these records are dead forever, like permanent, like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, we're going to be able to find this or spot these people that, we didn't even know exist, because now there's record. And there's one thing about African, I won't kind of like shit African gaming or African in general, but we're not the best at record keeping yet, right? I mean, we are
Yeah.
adopting good record keeping is improving, but this technology kind of improves, that you don't have to worry about like keeping records, because it's always going to be there as long as like the blockchain exists. And then there's Starknet that's working on decentralization. That we know that it's going to be here for the long haul once that is adopted, because anybody can become a validator and a sequencer and like keep like the network on. So you know that this is future-proof technology, keeps perfect record. We can find hidden geniuses from like our local games, and there's other interesting primitives that like the blockchain also adds to the game. Don't mind me for talking too much.
No. It's great. It's great. It's great.
I'm just passionate.
I tell people whenever the idea of Ayoloko comes up, I tell people I was brought up by my grandmother, and I told you the one time when I played it as a child, she chased me away from there. She flogged me off because I sneaked out of the house. I was one of those kids who wasn't allowed to come out much. I was usually inside most of the time, and then I sneaked out of the house that day. I think I was supposed to resume school. It was a Sunday evening. I won't forget. I was supposed to resume school the following day. I was supposed to resume primary four. Yeah, I was supposed to resume primary four. So she came and she was looking for me. She was all bothered. So I never played it again. I never played it again until 2023. I was coming back from Lagos. I was on a flight. I met a lady. We got talking. The conversation was good. She came around one time, and she came with Ayolopon. She came with all sorts of board games. And I was like, wait, you are probably one of the most interesting persons I have met yet. Because usually when someone is visiting you and something, they're coming, probably you guys have conversations. Okay, I understand. I've got PS, we're playing PS, watching movies and stuff, and getting out. But she came with our games and she was like, oh, this, oh, do you like this? Do you like this? And she brought Ayolop World, and I said, this is something I'd like to play. I don't know how to play. I told her the story I just told you about how I hadn't played it in years. And she was like, okay, you know what? I'll teach you. And she brought it out, and it was rivets, and I enjoyed it. I was like, this is what this woman took away from me. It was quite something. It was quite something. All right. So
and I made a bunch of friends playing on it. That's kind of like even within the Starknet Africa ecosystem, there's like people that I played with that I did not know before, and we bonded over playing on it. Like Mankala. Like again, we just kind of like opted in when I was like testing the game, and we like started talking, and then we started talking about personal experiences, and then like, this is used to be, it's a community coordination tool anyways. It builds like that bond between people, and I thought it was fun, and like bringing it on chain, I see a lot of potential in it. Like I do see a lot of potential. I know maybe right now it's not, the time for it, but I'm definitely coming back to like pushing that.
No, the time for it will always be there. I feel it's we're living in a time where it's cool. It's cooler to be African compared to how it used to be in the past. It's cooler to be African now, and we can push with things like this. I like ideas like this. I like ideas that are Afrocentric. I like ideas that push Africa to the forefront of whatever people are building. So it's a good thing. But now let's come to the 3D gaming. You are moving to 3D gaming and you're trying to push it. How exactly do you plan on going about this? What are the plans you have now? What are the things people should look forward to towards when it comes to this?
All right, so we actually have the MVP of like first 3D game in the works. It's playable actually, but I'm still like trying to fine tune everything before like showing it out to more people. But like I said, it's heavily inspired by Loop Survivor, right? And I took the adventurer. I'm using like a technology stack, or I initially started with the technology stack called Bevy. It's a game engine written in Rust, and it's supposed to like help you build game faster. I mean, that's the idea of a game engine, but I'm building it in Rust, which is code driven. There's no editor. So I mean, because it's my first time building a 3D game, so I picked that stack because for me, it seems like the most logical. Why I say this is Rust is very similar to Cairo. Cairo is the programming language for writing smart contracts on Starknet. And Rust, I mean, Cairo was inspired heavily by Rust, right? So I'm like, it would be a very good, thing to just complement me. Like writing Cairo, writing Rust is kind of like it would be smooth, and I'll be able to onboard more people that already know Cairo or Rust into this because it's like a similar stack. Built that, but the problem with the stack I chose was that I had to reinvent almost everything because there's no editor. Like the physics engine was not like there yet. And so like the collision detection, like because again it's a 3D game, like when you're moving, like when you hit an obstacle, you're not supposed to like walk through it. Like you're supposed to dictate that it's an obstacle and like bounce back. And like so many other things, like you have to write that with code. And mind you, if you're using like an engine like Unity, it's almost like drag and play. It's like you using like Illustrator or like Blender. So it's like the technical difference is like huge. So I mean, we built the MVP. It was really good. We had like Starknet transactions from like even picking up like obstacles along the way, or like picking up I say obstacles like reward along the way, like gold coins and all this other stuff. And it was kind of good, but I don't think it's scalable. We cannot build fast with that. So I kind of decided to like port it to like a different tech stack. We're using Unity now for it, but I don't know if I'm deviating. Don't mind me. I'm a little bit scatterbrained, but I don't know if this is answering your question, and you can.
No, it's answering it. It's answering it. I like your version of your way of answering questions because it's how I also answer the questions. If it's something I'm also building, something I'm working on, like the way you said scatterbrain, I also tend to be like that while talking. So it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, but I'm kind of like exploring it. I got like a 3D artist helping me with like the character design, got the environment and everything. Like the ultimate objective is like once I figure it out right now, like again, the goal was initially when I started Realmofra was like, bringing African culture and chain. Now I can use all the lessons, like I can definitely fine tune it to bring like, it doesn't really have to like, I would love to bring like that storyline of like, like mythical gods and like all these other like interesting things that I, learned in the past, like kind of like bring it. But I think right now it's the best to kind of like, create along with what kind of already has structure and is good. And then after that, we can kind of like, add the other like storyline onto it.
Okay. All right. So it's great. I like the fact that you've spoken about some of the challenges you've encountered. It's a great thing. You're not painting yourself as a omnipotent being in this matter. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing. What also are some like over the course of building on-chain gaming? What are some of the opportunities you say you've encountered? Probably something new you've learned or something like. Talk us through it.
I mean, I'll say the friendship. So I was in the Dojo Fellowship in New York for 2 months.
Okay.
Met like some of the best on-chain game developers that I know on there. Again, met even Moody, like developer of Ecubo, like one of the core developers of Uniswap, right?
Okay.
Before he moved to Starknet there. So I met like a lot of interesting people, made a lot of great friends from there. It's like hashtag bullish on friendship. But aside from that, like Rem's World, I would say is one of like the core communities that I've kind of like resonated with while there. I also got a grant from them to keep building. Yeah, but mostly it's the friendship. Yeah, it's mostly the friendship, and like most of the developers here build open source, so that means if they've invented something, you can definitely get inspired from that. And
Yeah.
compared to like the traditional gaming ecosystem where everybody is kind of like guarding everything, is closed source, so it's quite difficult to build. But in this way, it's open source. You could, excuse me, learn from them. And yeah, I mean, when I say open source, it's not available sometimes, so it's not as if you can just copy it and use it without proper license permission. But it's like you can see it and you can learn from that. So it helps to build faster. With a cartridge incubator too, like they're giving help with engineering. So imagine if I was the only one building this idea in my room, like trying to figure everything out. It's lonely, it's difficult. I think it will be almost impossible to achieve. But again, with the community around, like the cartridge, bringing the engineering support, like they made a lot of breakthroughs in infrastructure for on-chain games. That kind of saves me a lot of headache, right? I think all that has been amazing. Like in my, time exploring on-chain games.
Great, great, great. I like the fact that you've been mentioning community, the friendships, and everything. Because I used to be part of a community in the past on a project, and one of the core sayings used to be "Come for the money, stay for the community." That was it. It used to be one of saying. And in truth, some of the people who are closest to me now are people I made of that community. They are people, friends I made of that community. It has been so. It has been quite beautiful. So I like the idea of community. I like the idea of community.
I mean, I like the idea
Okay.
of money too. I like
Yeah,
the
no,
idea
no,
of
of course, no, no, of course. No, that's the thing. You're coming for the money, but then you're staying for the community.
yeah, and I was just
Okay.
making a
So
joke because yeah, continue.
no, no, go on, go on.
No,
I
actually,
was
I was
going
just
to
making
move
a
on
joke
something else.
because the money right now, like just in the crypto space, it's been like really, really not fun, and especially building on Starknet. But like, I'm still betting on like Starknet being. Again, I know we always talk about we have the best technology and all that. It's not about technology, but I think we're going to mature into like a really amazing community that is sustainable. But it's like a long term play. But I think we can definitely build like um, long term products that will be sustainable in the long term.
Okay. Speaking of sustainable long-term products, you have an interest in African gaming, but we spoke about Mancala earlier, and you said you just feel now isn't the time for it yet. What do you think the future is? The future of African on-chain gaming? Was it? What do you think the future is like with it?
I mean, I think it still depends on all of us, right? It will take all of us to kind of like take action. This is an emerging field. I think there will be more developers, and if there are more developers coming from Africa willing to, explore emerging fields, I think the future is bright because we are early. When I say early, it's like this space is not like yet mature, so we have the opportunity to shape it. Um, but it will take us to get involved too. I know like Africans are a lot of Africans I know are mostly risk averse, right? They wouldn't want to explore, experiment with like really, you know, unproven tech stack. And I'm not going
Yeah.
to lie to you, on-chain gaming has a lot of potential, but it's not yet a proven, sustainable tech out here. So I think if we act now and take that risk, the reward is really up from there. And we're going to be able to like make our mark in this space too. But even regardless, I think there's a lot of still bright future for Africans in on-chain gaming. I don't see a lot of representation yet, but I think again we're still early, so um, there's still a lot of time to catch up to that. And it's not even catch
Okay.
up. Like compared to like DeFi products, right? Like there's DeFi products that are doing like billions of dollars in TVL, and I'd say that billions of dollars in TVL, like in volumes. And it's like that kind of race is like more difficult to run up to. That's something that it's like it's still getting there. And yeah, there's a lot of intersection between even DeFi and on-chain gaming that we can still explore. But anyways, to quickly answer your question, I think the future is bright, but we'd have to take some risks to kind of like get into that space.
Okay. Let's come back to Realmofra in itself. What would you say has been the most rewarding aspect of the journey, the most rewarding aspect of building Realmofra, and what would you say you look forward to, or let's say 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now? What's Realmofra going to look like?
I mean, building a startup is a difficult task, right?
Yeah.
Someone described it as like chewing glass. It is tough. I would still, kind of like circle back to the friendship and the connections I've made along the line. It's still tough. I'm not, going to sugarcoat it. What I'm looking forward to in like 5 months from now, in 1 year from now, is kind of like cracking the code on 3D games, and like being able to like bring out things that represent our culture in that 5 year mark. Right now, it's first shipping a good 3D on chain game, and then adding culture to it after that. Adding our story to it after that. I think that will be like the roadmap. Right now, it's kind of like you got to get down to building, take the sacrifice here.
Okay. Let's talk about technical and creative aspects of game development. There's a technical aspect. For example, you said earlier about you're taking the adventure from another game, you're bringing this, and then you're also encountering issues. How do you balance this technical and creative aspects of game development?
Give me 1 second, please. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sorry about it. Yeah, can you ask your question again?
Yeah. How are you balancing the technical and creative aspect of game development? Because there's a technical aspect, of course, and then it's also a creative thing. For example, you were talking earlier about taking an adventurer from another game and things like that, merging different things together. How are you balancing that?
Yeah, the creative aspect can be really tough because I'm not. I wouldn't describe myself as a creative, but that's not true. I'm actually a creative because I'm, building a game. But I do outsource some of like the designs and like the character creation because I'm not there. The storyline is like the game design part. I'm taking a class to kind of like improve it. I have mentors that are also helping out in that regard. So it's kind of like it's going. From the technical part, like I said, there's the open source aspect. And I do have a bunch of friends, thanks to like the cartridge incubator and like the dojo fellowship that I've been building way longer than myself. So I can definitely consult with them, and they're offering that service for literally zero. So that's been really, helpful. Yeah, like the Loot Survivor game. I'm actually a mod in the community. Like I said, I really enjoy it, and that is where I'm actually, using the adventure. The core developers in the team are my friends, so I can just DM them, like asking questions that that I need clarification on. Yeah, like the dojo team, they're really really helpful. Like the lead engineer, Again, it's my friend. I can DM him if I have issues. So it's like I'm not doing it alone, right? So it's helpful to kind of like bounce that idea back and forth. And yeah, so that's been like the balance. Like there are some things I know when to outsource, and there are some things I know when to reach out to like someone that is like has more experience than me, like building that stuff. So yeah, it's kind of still difficult, but there's a balance there that helps.
Okay, okay. It's been all this has been great. You you're not sugarcoating anything. You're bringing things out exactly the way they are. So, how would you say? Okay, let's go to developers who are building on Starknet, those who are just starting out and everything. What advice do you have for them? If you're advising them now, what advice would you give?
I mean, it's the same thing I've been saying. The community is amazing. People are willing to help you. If you have questions, like genuinely, if you try. I mean, not like you should ask, like how to send a div. You could definitely, Google that, or there's like AI tools that have been helpful, and it's actually even getting better. The tooling, to build stuff, but yeah, if you don't ask questions, the answer is always no. So if you ever get stuck, like my DMs are open, right? There's like communities where you can definitely reach out to. There's like the dojo, that's the Rams World, that's if you're into on-chain gaming, that you can reach out to. You ask questions, they probably respond to you in less than an hour. That's how active how responsive the community is. Like even in the Starknet thing, there's the base camps that you can take, and there's like groups that you can get into that are very supportive of developers, and they can help you in like like pushing. But at the end of the day, you get out what you put into anything, right? So yeah, you got to put in the work too, and you get a result of the work you put in.
Okay, okay, okay. So community is king, everyone. Ask those questions. Ask those questions. Ask away. Ask away. Use your
And don't
AI tools, and
Yeah, and don't be afraid to fail. Like it's part of people say, yeah, a
it's
lot
okay
of
to
people are,
fail.
but it's part of the journey. Like a lot of people that you see out there, like are successful today and have done, amazing stuff. Like I've had their own bit of a share of like health, right? So it's like, yeah, if you have an idea, don't take it silly. Just kind of like go for it. Ask questions, get involved in the community. I think it's the ultimate thing. Um, I mean, there should be a balance, obviously, but yeah, it definitely helps. It is easier to build, when you can relate to other people than you in your own corner, like, just building and, not getting that feedback and all that. I
Okay.
think, yeah, that's my own summary of lessons that I've learned so far.
Okay. How does Realmofra relate with its community and with what you're building now? What role will community feedback be playing in what you're building?
Um, right now, we're still kind of like heads down, like trying to polish something, you know, really worthy of like showcasing to community. I understand like getting feedback constantly from community is really good. I have like a close set of people that I'm kind of like beta testing with and like getting feedback from,
Okay.
and like definitely very soon I'll open it up to more community, because right now it's like the core team is three, right? We're kind of like pushing. So once we kind of like get to that point where it's more for community, because for the Mancala it was kind of like there was even weekly events, right? But for this it's like I'm still exploring like an uncharted territory. But I know that once like we unlock that, yeah, 100% open to like getting feedback from the players and like adopting it to that what they need, because I want to build something that people enjoy playing, and I have to interact with people for that to happen. So 100% the community and players like the king of of this interaction.
Okay. Okay. That's great. That's great. It's been great talking to you, Okhai, and you've been talking to you has been quite beautiful, I'd say. And I guess with that, we've come to the end of today's program. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And remember everything he said: community is king. Join communities in this space. Ask questions. It's okay to fail.
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
community is key, but I'm saying also put in the work, because
Yeah.
community is key. But if you don't put in the work, like if you're not doing anything, I mean, there's no result for that. So you also get what you put into the community.
Great. Great. So it's okay to fail, everyone. If I think one question you should ask yourself each time is, if you were told the amount of times you would hear no before hearing a yes, or if you were told the amount of time you'd fail before scaling through, how many times would you put in the work? You understand? If you know, okay, you are just one walk away from a breakthrough. So I think you should put in that work, and the sky is not even beyond the sky is your limits. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you very much, Okhai. It's been great having you. And we've come to the end of today's program. Remember to follow us on Starknet Africa, and also follow Realmofra. And thank you very much, everyone, once again for joining us. And with this, we've come to the end of today's edition of Project Spotlight. Join us at the same time next week, Wednesday, where we'll be talking to another interesting builder who's making something magnificent within the space. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Kiki. And good night, everyone.